In this video, we are going to see how to crack the code. This will show you how to get maximum marks with minimal effort. So, let's seize the day. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Students Guide by SZ. These tips are given by the person who already gave the board exam and experienced it. I'm sure this is going to help you out. So let's start.
So most of us have written English exams in our life, yeah, being board students. Since you've opened this video, as it says Cbse, I assume that you have written some kind of board exam, or you are looking forward to writing some board exam this year. So because of the vast number of subjects that we have and the amount of difficulties these subjects contain, we tend to lose focus on English and tend to focus more on these other subjects during exam time, which can cause some of us to lose some marks in this exam, which can affect our entire grade. So while you may get good marks in the other difficult subjects, English kind of brings your result down. So here's some tips on how to do the minimum effort to get the maximum yield in an English board exam. So first we'll discuss how the paper is usually supposed to be. So the breakdown of the paper is, you have 4 sections in the paper. One is reading. Writing plus grammar is usually mixed together, but we'll take it as two separate entities. And then we have the literature one, which is based on your portions that you study. So these 4 sections are important because these determine what to write where and what portion of your brain should be employed to answer these questions. I know Cbse exams require a lot of brain power and the presence of mind. So presence of mind is something you'll hear throughout the whole video. Then we go to the first section, which is also known as the reading or the comprehension section. So for reading, yeah, like I said before, presence of mind is important. Your mind can't wander off to other thoughts, and you can just drift into your dream world thinking what you'll write for the literature part. Your mind should focus on reading and what you are reading. So if your presence of mind is done, that means you are halfway done through the reading section. So on the side of the paper, or maybe the question paper if it is allowed, make sure to write main idea in the bullet points, because usually this reading section is taken as an excerpt from some other literature source, so it's easier to make out what the author is trying to convey. So just write it down. That will be useful for answering the questions. Then you underline the new words. Underline any new words you find, because Cbse likes playing brain games and they'll end up asking you what is the meaning of the word even though you've never heard of it. So just underline and trying to find the context in the worst scenario where the word is fitting and what sense it would make. You should have the overall gist of what you're speaking about. You should have an overall gist of what you're reading and what the author is trying to convey. Form a basic one line message. Do you understand what the author is trying to say? Check that. Then you find matching words in the question. So this is not a tip but a life hack. Just find matching questions, matching words in the questions with the ones in the excerpt. It's usually there. This reading section is mostly to give you the majority of the marks, is mostly for getting the passing marks. Then we come next to writing. So for writing, first thing you have to do is open up your creative mind. So you should keep your mind open and collect all the ideas of the current affairs or the current issues of the world or some kind of opinion about it. So you should pay attention to what is being asked. Oftentimes Cbse tends to confuse us a lot by asking 2 things in one question. So people usually focus on one idea and then completely ignore the rest, because that's how our brain works. And as we know, Cbse likes playing brain games and they know reverse psychology. So you pay attention to what is being asked. Mostly you can just underline the points, like just using a pencil or a pen, that if there are 2 objectives, you have to write the 2 objectives. Suppose why something should be done and how to prevent it. Most people only focus on why it should be done, not how to prevent it. But the marks are divided halfway, so you'll only get marks for the half content you wrote. Then 3 to 4 main points. Make sure you don't write stories in your paper, because no examiner is sitting there happily and voluntarily waiting to correct papers of students who wrote illegibly because of lack of time. Again, Cbse. So you write 3 to 4 main points, or maybe just make up in your mind, like, okay, 3 to 4 points. If it's asking cause of something and how to prevent it, make 3 cause points, make 3 prevention points. So that way you'll have a good framework of what you're trying to do. Basically, you'll know what is to be written. Framework is important because they search for coherent ideas. I've been through many marking schemes, and they check whether coherent ideas are coherent, or whether they're flowing after one another or not, or whether they're chipped into different segments, which is not actually desirable, and it can get your marks cut. So even if you're writing in a hurry, make sure you write less, but it should make sense. Then cause, action, and consequences. This is very important. For writing, you have to have the cause, the action, and the consequences. Something happens, then as a result something happens, and because of that something else happens. So this 3 bridge work of the text should be clear, because that's what they're seeking, of how person identifies a problem and what solutions they offer and how intelligent those solutions are. Then you can also give suggestion and facts. Back up your whole writing skills with suggestion and facts, and stick to the word limit. This is an extra point. Stick to the word limit, because you exceed the word limit and your marks start lowering by then. Like, even if you wrote such a beautiful piece of literature and it's impressive, but still the examiner won't give you marks because you didn't fulfill the word limit. So that's another requirement that you need to focus on. And back up by suggestion of facts. Usually we know that we all tend to make up facts like 50% of population does this, 35%. It makes the writing look more factual and from a verified source. It makes it look more professional and well thought out. And they also know it's not true mostly, and it's just made up facts. But they're not looking at facts, they're looking at how you present your information when given a factual information. Then we go to the next section, which is grammar. For grammar, this is one good tip. I would say read aloud. Don't start shouting in your class during exam or something, but just read in your mind. Read it aloud in your mind. Think of it like you're reading to someone else and what they would think, or maybe someone else is reading out to you. Because when you do that, especially in error correction and writing the correct auxiliary verb or form of some verb, this is very important, because it helps to bring out the mistakes that you might not notice, but you will notice when others speak, because we tend to notice others mistakes more than us. So read in mind. You have to read in mind continuously. Don't read it from your eye rather from your mind. Don't read it from your eye, rather from your mind, and your whole mind should be present in the text that is given, or whatever fill in the blanks is given. Try to check misfits. If anything is not fitting the sentence, it's not going to be correct. So instead of trying to find the correct answer, try to cross out the incorrect ones first. Instead of trying to find the correct answers, trying to find the incorrect answers first and then strike them out, and then you'll be left with 2 or 3 options that might seem fitting, and then accordingly you can check what comes. This is especially in the case of multiple choice questions. And like I said before, imagine talking to someone. What would someone say when you speak those sentences out loud? Are your answers correct? Because usually our mind doesn't focus on a language consciously, rather subconsciously. So if you try to imagine yourself in a scenario and speaking those sentences out loud, you will know what mistakes of yours will be pointed out. So an example of this would be the excerpt from Cbse sample paper. Have you ever learned from any from a mistake that you have made? So have you ever learned? So your brain will try to correct it automatically, but you have to avoid that. You have to read it very consciously. Have you ever learned from a mistake or learned from a mistake that you have made? Many wouldn't admit doing so. For those who do, there is no need for guilt. We often make mistakes while taking risks, but all brush them aside and learn. So, as you can see, there are many errors, and all the errors are numbered. So in each line there is only one error, and you have to find only one error. Try to not find multiple errors, because then you are the one committing the error here. And wherever the underline is not given, that's the correct sentence. So try to make references from that sentences also, because these usually contain the context of the text, so you know what tense or what verb form is being used. Then last comes our literature part, which is most important because it contains a lot of, it requires a lot of background information. So you should have both foreground and background. Usually reference to context is asked. Usually reference to context is asked, as in who spoke to whom and why they said so. So it is very important to have a background and foreground information. Try to read your long reading text very thoroughly. Don't learn everything, just read it and know the story of it, like what happens when so and so happen. And try to watch movies. So that's a very good way to put English in your mind, is to watch the visualization of the content. For example, watch the movies of the long reading novels you have, or read summaries about it, or watch some animation about it. So that will really put the timeline, the chronology of the events in your mind very clearly. So apart from that, you should have foreground and background. So in reference to context, you shouldn't be questioning like, oh, where is this part from? You should read and immediately know. This cannot be done by reading, but rather by watching a visualization, like I said before. Then underline the words and ideas. So underline the words and ideas. Whatever important things you wrote in your answers, you should be underlined, and try to find keywords, or try to find matching keywords from the question and try to put them in the answer, but not the actual keywords, but something relating to it, so that the examiner knows that, oh, this person has read the question well. Then follow the cause and consequences model for answering the questions. For example, if a character sketch is asked, you just don't give this person was nice, they did this, they were tall and they were petite. No, give examples from the content, give example from the chapters, why you think the person is generous, why you think the person is kind. For example, they did so and so, they fed food to a poor person, or something like that. You should give references and proofs from the text, then only you'll get full marks. And how to find the word limit of an answer. The word limit is usually not needed, but you can follow something known as a sentence limit. For each mark, you write one cause and one consequences. Suppose the answer is for 1 mark, then you write one cause or one statement and one consequence or one proof of so and so happening. If 2 marks, then 2 cause, 2 consequences. So 1 mark will have 2 sentences, 2 marks will have 4 sentences, and accordingly you just keep giving the answers. And yeah, that is it. If you follow these tips correctly, I'm sure that you will get more than 90 percentage in your English board exam at least. I don't know about the other subject, but in English, this will make sure that your answers are well received by the examiners, and they will really appreciate how much effort and time you put into making sure that your content is readable and legible, And yeah, this is how you can score very well in English exams with the minimum effort, and also ensuring that you yourself feel very confident while writing the exam. Hope this helped. Thank you.